Uh, we would like to present to show you the population aspects of natural regeneration of forest of left bank Polisia of Ukraine. So we all know that the natural regeneration is like the main mechanisms to keep the forests alive, but at the same time it's such a difficult mechanisms. It has so many unknown points right now that undetermined even problems that it still is important for studying and always will be actual, I will say. And in Suma National University, in our scientific school, as we call it, of plant population ecology, we believe that it is promising to study natural regeneration based on the application of comprehensive population analysis. So logically, that if we're talking about the forest regeneration, then we have to go to study it to the territories where we have forests. So for Ukraine, this kind of territories is this spot. You already saw quite similar map from Svetlana. So we have three main zones. Forest zone, which in Ukraine we also call Polissa. So that's where this word from. Then the second one is the forest steppe zone and the steppe zone. For us, for our study, the forest zone is important, and most all of our studies actually were held on this part of Polisia, of forest zone. You see here is we have a Dnipro river. That's the main river in Ukraine, which divided on the left bank and right bank. So that is why this part of the territory we called left bank Polisia or left bank forest zone. And when we started to study the natural regeneration in this territory, we focused on five main species, forest species such as Pinus sylvestris, Quercus robur, Acer platanoides, Betula pendula, and Populus tremula. So we divided 58 syntaxons in categories of association, 24 syntaxons in the category of association group, and 4 formations. So it's all according to the dominant classification of vegetation. So you can see here the vegetation type Sylvia, and it divided on the formation, subformation, and group of associations. So all you see it's quite a lot of association, 58, so we didn't show them all on slides. That's just a little part of just to show you the idea how it was divided. So for formation, it's Pineta sylvestris forest, so generally pine forests, and then goes a different subformation. As you can see, Pineta sylvestris is like clean pine forest. Querceto ruboris per Pineta sylvestris, it means that we have still dominant Pinus sylvestris, but also have Quercus robur as a subdominant and Betuleta pendula Pineta sylvestris. It's the same here here on the bottom, trust me. So it means again that generally it's pine forest, but we still have a lot of Betula pendula in there. And then in these formations we divided different association, and the association it's basically just the different forests. In this association, in these forests, we divided, find out 7 so-called cohorts, and within the populations of species. I just will tell you like the main names, and we will keep aside the characteristics because the names is kind of saying. So seedlings, that's just the first year plants. Sprout, that's the mostly plants under 3 years, and they will go to the first group. Then the next one is a small undergrowth. So that will be the plant about around 50 centimeters high. Then middle undergrowth, large undergrowth, that will be the second large group, which is a small undergrowth, middle undergrowth, and large undergrowth. And the last big group consists with young trees and degenerative trees of the upper forest layer. So it basically according to the height of the plant. So each of the cohorts as an intrapopulation structure group. So that's we have a population of plant, but the cohort it's like the another structure inside of the population. So it means intrapopulation structure group is characterized by certain different differences in the conditions to the individuals that make it that make its up to composition. And this is the basis for the use of population analysis for cohorts, both its individual type and complex. So what it means, what we've done, we applied the population analysis not only classically to the whole population, but also partly to every cohort of the population. So that's the factors or features which were studied in a comprehensive population analysis. And this pluses means if it was studied to every group. You see, here we have seedlings, generally the population, the whole, and then the groups which we were talking about, the cohorts. So what we were studying, first of all, it's number of individuals, then density, then population field area, then spatial structure, it means how they spread, age structure, ontogenetic structure, vitality structure, dimensional structure, and gender structure. But for our species, gender structure basically doesn't work too much because we have the species which have boys and girls on the same tree, so it doesn't work for us, but it is in a classical list, so we have to mention it. And here is some example just to give you the idea how they looks the results. Like for example, that's the assessment, the results of ontogenetic, of studying of the ontogenetic structure of Pinus sylvestris and Quercus robur. Pinus sylvestris will be darker, Quercus robur will be the lighter one. In one plant community in Pineta sylvestris fragulosa alni vaccinosa myrtili association group. So as we can see, according to the ontogenetic structure here, the biggest amount of plants we have on the immature stage, which is leading for Pinus sylvestris and for Quercus robur as well. And for other stages, we can see that the amount of plants for Quercus robur were higher, but for like generative stage, the plants of Quercus robur were absent. As we already mentioned, the state of natural recovery was also assessed on the basis of the vitality structure, vitality analysis. It provides an assessment of the vitality of the individuals by morphological characteristics, followed by the determination of the ratio of number of individuals of different vitality in the population. Here we have three main level vitality classes, as you can see here, A, B, C. As a part of the population and establishing its type by the quality index. So like the first step, we are counting the amount of plants for every class, according to special methodology, to A, class B, and C. And then we calculate the quality index, Q. And depending on this index, we can divide it, populations in three different categories. It either could be depressed, if the Q index we have less than 0.16, then could be balanced. If Q index we have in between 0.16 to 0.33, and if we have the Q index more than 0.33, the population will be prosperous. The Q index can't be more than 0.5, so that's like it means that if it got in between 0.33, 0.5, the population will be prosperous. And as you see from the names, so like depressed is the worst one, then the middle one is the balanced, and prosperous is like the best one. And again, just one small example how the results looks like, just to give you the idea. That's the vitality structure of the cohorts of the small undergrowths of Pinus sylvestris. So it's not just for even for the whole population, it's just for the cohort of Pinus sylvestris. In the left side, you can see different association groups, so basically like different forests. And then we can see basically the results for every class A, B, C, and then quality index here. So we can say even from here like that the plants in the association Pineta sylvestris, Nardosa stricta were the best, as you can see here from the numbers, yeah. Or opposite, like the depressed population or cohorts of small undergrowths were in a group of association Pineta sylvestris helicamiosa, or same really weak. Where here, for example, yeah, you see in Pineta sylvestris sphagnosa. So the clean, already from here we can say that if we have a clean pine forest with the moss underneath, it means we don't have really good undergrowth under it. So even from this stage we can see already some results. And also if we've done the this vitality analysis for every cohort, we can check how the vitality index change for with time for this plant. So, for example, here for for Pinus sylvestris, if at the beginning, on the really first stage, we have vitality index 0.35, then it drops. Then with time it goes higher, and again with time it going quite down. So we could build such kind of trend, some kind of such kind of models, and after. When we are trying to unify these studies, we also create such kind of the strategies. We have 6 of them. So the main idea here, you can see those cohorts which I was talking about at the beginning. So the first one, initial phase, then small, middle, and large undergrowth. That's the undergrowth stage, and the stand phase when the undergrowth going already closer to the older trees. So 2 of them are here. Like the ideal situation for natural regeneration, it's when we have all of them, when we have the first strategy in the forest. Yeah, so when we have like from the smallest one to the largest one, and every level is fulfilled with the plants. But it's ideal situation in a quite ideal world. It's not usually happened. That is why we have another strategies here. So it's basically, you see, just missing step by step, or 1 or 2 or more phases. And again, when the plants grows to this point, they start to produce seeds, which can lead again to one of the strategies, already like the next generation of it. In the study area, the correspondence of natural regeneration of the leading forest-forming species, which I mentioned, to the first model compared to the other 5 is very limited. Like I said, we don't have many forests where we have this ideal picture. The natural regeneration corresponding to the completed model, this ISP, you understood, I think, with the whole range, is presented in only 5 groups of association. So you remember we studied 58, and we found this ideal model only in 5 of them. And among the variants of these models, the most of self-sustaining forests often corresponds to the model number 5, means to this one. We identified that for natural regeneration at the level of each individual cohort, the K is the successful realization of 2 phenomena. So we have 2 like must-haves to go from one level to another. First of all, the transition of individuals from one layer to another. So it means if we want to have like the successful natural regeneration, our plants has to be able to transfer from one layer to another, not die. and continue to grow. And the second is the integration of plant into the appropriate layer and survival in it. So it means it is important for them not just to move from one floor to another, but also integrate in there and to be able to survive in that level where they integrated. In general, the process of transition of cohorts from one forest tier or forest level to the next and their sustainable integration into their level is denoted by a special term, reforestation implementation. So generally this process, or we called it reforestational implementation. We also identifying three different type of these reforestation implementations depending on the composition of the undergrowth compared to the composition of the like mother species or main species or dominant species. The first one, deterministic reforestation implementation. It means when the species composition of cohorts of undergrowth which are introduced into certain forest layer is identical to the species composition of the master stand. It means when they are the same. The second one is a deterministic reforestation in implementation. Then when we have the opposite situation, when the undergrowth is completely different from the main mother stand or dominant species composition, and combine, it means when we basically have both of them. So some of them are different, some of them are the same. In the forests of the region, which we were studying, remember, left bank Polisa, the most widely represented is the combined reforestation implementation. So the situation when undergrowth is different. Not different, but partly the same with the master stand, partly is different. So based on the data from the comprehensive population analysis, we identified indicators of the state of populations and cohorts that are optimal for ensuring successful natural regeneration of forest in the left bank Polisa of Ukraine. Here is the list of these must be done for successful natural regeneration. Let's go quickly through that. So first is population of forest forming species should be complete in terms of the composition of ontogenetic spectra. So all the ontogenetic spectrums has to be present. Then the second, the density of small undergrowth in the restoration area should be at least 4,000 units per hectare. Medium and large respectively has to be 3,000 and 2,000 units per hectare. Then the third one, cohorts of the younger generation should be categorized by the high level of vitality. Q index has to be around 0.3, 0.5. So for them to be able to move further, they have to be quite strong. Then the fourth is during the stages of natural recovery, there should be no steady decline in the level of vitality of the cohorts. It means the transformation from the younger cohort to the next older one characterized by IVD values of 0 and above. So it has to be like continuing. Then the fifth was a necessary condition is the presence of size diversity of cohorts, which corresponds to the value of the coefficient of diversity of size structure at the level of 25-50%. And the last one, 6.1, is formation of cohorts with continuous age spectra of with a small discreteness. For a small understory, it is desirable to correspond to the value of age spectrum discreteness coefficient, the range of value from 0 to 0.15. So at the level of each cohort for each phytocoinosis, the correlation between the actual value of population characteristics and their optimal value was estimated. It was found that the state of different cohorts of the leading forest-forming species of left bank Polessia of Ukraine in the vast majority of cases, about from 54, 55 to 82, does not correspond to the optimal value. So we kind of have troubles with the natural regeneration. This include I think we could skip that. What I would like to highlight also among the phytocoinosis where the manifestation of adaptation processes is quite successful in a particular forest of association group, as you can see, Pineta sylvestris hilocamiosa, Pineta sylvestris fragnosa alni vaciniosa myrtili, Querceta robori Pineta sylvestris vaciniosa myrtili, Querceta roboris convalieriosa maialis, and the other two. So the main idea here that we actually found the places, we found the phytocoinosis where we have a good examples of natural regeneration, and we can learn out of there and make some conclusions about why it's going that way and what we have to do to get another phytocoinosis to the same level. At the present stage, the problem of the effectiveness of natural regeneration and sustainable existence of forest phytocoinosis is deeply integrated into the entire set of biological, ecological, social, and economic processes that determine the state and functioning of a modern forest ecosystem through a complex set of different and indirect links. According to, you already saw what is going on with our forests in Ukraine, and the most important part that we do not know how long it's gonna continue, how much more damage we're gonna have. The question of studying natural regeneration are keeping its importance, because I'm pretty sure, and we discuss it in our groups, that probably when the war will finally finish and we will face the problem of restoration and renovation, etc., you can imagine how much money we're supposed to spend for that, and it would be great to have basic knowledge about the natural regeneration, to skip the putting money in this process and just like relying on nature itself. And hopefully our study and our knowledge will help our country in the future. Thank you very much for your attention.